Now, I don't want to say that I was right about No Man's Sky, but, seeing the vague marketing for the game, potential buyers will form their own opinions of what they think the game will be like. And if they're wrong, they'll be disappointed, thus thinking that the game sucks. This is not a multiplayer game. That universe is so huge that you're probably never going to run into anybody. There will most likely not be a way to warp to another player's position, and you can forget about trying to get there on your own. There is combat in the game, but it's not the main focus. Don't expect to be blasting your way through the galaxy or anything. Yeah, people got the wrong idea about No Man's Sky and were clearly disappointed, as the reviews show. One major problem that I see is that people were expecting a AAA experience, but No Man's Sky is very much an indie game. From the trailers, it might not look like an indie game, but it was made by a small team of people with a limited budget, and that is the formula for an indie game, isn't it? Should these people have to expect an indie experience, or should they be judging an indie game on the same scale as a AAA game? What have we done in the past for other similar titles? People were expecting Skyrim, but in an infinite universe. After playing a few hours of No Man's Sky, you start to see through the procedural generation formula. If you've played a typical indie game before, you know that they're based off of one solid or unique idea. That way, small teams of people can focus on what's fun. Superhot has the whole time moves when you move thing. Super Time Force and Braid have the rewind mechanic. Cuphead has the whole 30s cartoon aesthetic. Gang Beasts throw the other dude out of bounds. If they aren't based off of one unique idea, they're probably a throwback to some retro game or something. No Man's Sky's one unique idea is that there's so much shit in the galaxy that your experience is unique to you, and you must experience that alone. You cannot have other players pop over to you and share this experience. It's a somber feeling. You're alone in this vast galaxy, but it's a feeling that's important to the narrative. I could see why a lot of people would be turned off by this feeling. Who wants to feel this alone? Side note, traditional multiplayer was never promised for this game. Get that out of your head. That's an expectation people pulled out of thin air just like they thought it was going to be released in 2015 and it wasn't. They never claimed it was going to.
Multiplayer for the game, actually, we've always said is kind of not really a big focus, actually. You know, if you want an MMO or a deathmatch game or something like that, then there's loads of other games that cater for that really well. Actually, what will happen reasonably often is going to a planet and finding that someone else has been there before you. And you see some traces of them, maybe creatures that they've named, things that they've left behind perhaps. A little bit like Journey or Dark Souls, we want players to have a sense that there are other people playing the game at the same time.
Sean Murray did claim that you would be able to see other players if you came across them, but that would be very rare. To break it down even further, the one core mechanic in No Man's Sky is exploration. I'm only a few hours in, and I'm having fun with it so far. I can see where it would be repetitive, but I'm finding my fun trying to learn more about the universe. The whole visual novel narrative is fascinating to me. So far. That's not to say this game isn't without its flaws. People were expecting a lot more than just exploration. I don't blame them when part of the marketing looks like this. That other stuff isn't really as cool as this trailer makes it seem. I bring up the marketing a lot when talking about a game with high expectations because it's normally the marketing's fault. You can't have a trailer like this and expect people to get the right idea. No Man's Sky is an indie game that focused on a simple idea, exploration, and ran with it. Since the sandbox is so big, people were expecting big things. How could a small team of people accomplish something like this? The answer is actually very simple. Math. Then you get articles like this that are shocked that the game's only 6 gigabytes. Of course it's only 6 gigabytes. This ain't Skyrim. It's just math. Calm down. Another complaint is that everything kind of has to pop into existence, which would normally be the sign of a glitch, but in this case, it's being generated before your f***ing eyes. That's kind of a big deal. If you were expecting one thing and got something completely different, you might be disappointed, and I completely understand that. Shouldn't games be judged unbiasedly by the experience you had with them? Of course, everybody has a bias, but you gotta try to tone that down when you're reviewing something. Also, are games judged by their value? I think a full $60 release is judged differently than a smaller $20 download. Is it fair to judge a game like Gone Home against a game like Grand Theft Auto 5? Should they even be allowed in the same scale? I guess that scale is based on fun. Many indie games have won Game of the Year awards in the past, but did they win just because they were indie games? Were they given a handicap because the team that made them were pinned against these gaming monopolies with tons of money? Maybe, just maybe, No Man's Sky wasn't given the same handicap because it was marketed the same way as a AAA game. And there was all this hype around it, not just from the echo chamber that is the game's media, but from regular old casual gamers too. A lot of people I know who don't play games often would ask me about No Man's Sky because it seemed interesting to them. A technical marvel, because it is. But these are the type of people who aren't used to a game like Gone Home. They're used to a feature-packed game like Fallout. So, would it be fair for a game reviewer to take a game's indie status into consideration before giving it a score? Is this unfair to AAA games? Is the whole system already unfair to indie games? It's very tough to say. I already don't like review scores. How could you judge a game like Super Mario Sunshine against a game like World of Warcraft? Or a game like Shovel Knight against a game like Uncharted 4? More importantly to our topic, how could a game like Journey have a higher score than a game like Overwatch? Is it because Journey accomplished more of what it set out to do? Did No Man's Sky not accomplish what it set out to do? Did it play with consumers' expectations? Whose fault is it that the consumers got the wrong expectations? Now, these review scales are sort of balanced out by Metacritic's average. The review scales get even worse when you dive into individual publications. Each publication has their own review scales and their own writers who obviously have different opinions. So, allow me to pose some questions to you, even though I've been doing that this whole time. First of all, how'd you like No Man's Sky? Were you disappointed, or are you just kind of rolling with it for what it is? Second, do you think that indie games in general should be held to a different standard than AAA games with bigger budgets? And third, are indie games already held to a different standard because of their handicap? This is the important question. Does the games industry have a slant? And should it? This is just something I've been thinking about since the game came out, because a lot of people who don't normally play indie games were playing this game and judging it differently than they would judge indie games, I think, anyway. And I don't personally know if it's okay to judge it differently. Fun is fun. A game should be fun. A game should be reviewed on whether or not it's fun. But you know damn well that Gone Home won that Game of the Year award because it was a freaking indie game. That was the year of Grand Theft Auto and The Last of Us. Are you f***ing kidding me? Anyway, there's going to be a lot of discussion. Leave it in the comments below. Add me on Twitter, all of this other social media garbage. There's new videos here every single Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Wednesday nights is Wulff Den Live. Be a part of our live podcast. Take the conversation over to there. And the most important things that you could do is subscribe and share this video with a friend who would bring a lot to this conversation, because we need that. I know that I'm going to get a lot of hate from both ends, but I'm just trying to have a conversation. It's a little bit of a controversial topic, you know, indie games and whatnot. If you're triggered, I'm sorry, but get over yourself. Thank you guys very much. Have a good week. You know what? I'm just going to talk over this end slate because I have a lot of things going on here. So click here if you want to see my video on what defines an indie game. It's very relevant to what we just talked about. You can also click here for last week's video about one of the games Sean Murray worked on before No Man's Sky. Shh, spoiler alert, it's Burnout 3. There's also the video we teased in the beginning, Will No Man's Sky Suck? It's one of the most popular videos on this channel because you people are cynical bastards. And of course, if you want my initial impressions on No Man's Sky, you can click this podcast right here. And if you're on mobile, you can click the card up at the top corner over there for any of the stuff. I'll give you a few seconds to do that. Bye-bye.